Going to be a pretty comprehensive video about Starfield. Let me just cut to the chase. It's the best single player video game I've ever played. I adore it. It is one of my favorites ever.
People are starting to make some really cool ships in Starfield. This is the Planet Express from Futurama, made by Reddit user SP7R. How awesome does that look? Oh my god. User Steaming Hot Data Dump made the UNSC Pelican. They actually made a guide to teach you exactly how to build it, which is like so unbelievably awesome. And I feel like they nailed this. Got that halo green. This one is probably my favorite. The Normandy is made by someone called Bizzle94588. I feel like I gotta try and make that. That's so neat. Oh, it's the ship from Cowboy Bebop. How cool. This one was made by Virathsia. Well, and then there's this one. Big ship that just says hi, because you can put like a ton of boxes on the top of your ship. This one was made by Quesaloop. Oh my gosh. It's a flying high. How beautiful.
There was a Eurogamer story, and I don't know what this language is, you know, whatever, some other country that's not America, so it doesn't matter. They quoted me when I was basically saying to this guy, I was just tweeting to this guy about how much I liked, here it is. This guy said, feel free to hate on me, but I'll never get tired of sites like in Starfield. And I said, nothing to hate on. I adore this game. One of the best single player narratives in gaming ever, perhaps the best, in my opinion. And boy, I will tell you, the hate I have gotten.
What's going on, my people? Today, we're here to talk about a very interesting subject. And that is people who love to troll, and I say troll, Starfield. Now, it's okay, perfectly okay. I want to make this clear from the very beginning, not to like a game. It's natural. We all have games that we like, games that we don't like. We all have games that everyone else seems to be crazy about. We're not too crazy about. I'll give you an example. The Nintendo Switch ecosystem. Now don't get me wrong, I think that the Nintendo Switch is fine, but it's just fine. I listen to how people talk about Nintendo and their games, and I'm like, okay, I don't really get it, but okay, I'm glad you enjoy it. Because to me, there are a lot of games that are on Steam that are Nintendo-esque, if you will, that I enjoy just as much as I enjoy the games that Nintendo made. The only problem I have with Nintendo is that even their old games don't get discounted. You know, they suffer from an extreme level of hubris, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. But a lot of people think, hey, they're all that in a bowl of cereal. A box of cereal even, right? And I respect that. So we all have things that we don't like. That's fine. If you don't like Starfield, that is, honestly, I cannot say enough how fine that is. However, if you proceed to come onto my channel in particular, not anywhere else, because I see a lot of lies about Starfield in other places, and you know, I don't even think about saying anything. But if you come on into my house and you proceed to tell lies about Starfield, and I only use the word lies here because obviously this particular person that I'm going to address who came onto my channel, a Starfield centric channel. Yeah, I play a few other games and I upload it, but this is a Starfield centric channel. Anyone who's been following this channel for a while knows that. And you proceed to tell crusty old lies about Starfield and say things about, first of all, let me go back to clarifying why I'm calling this particular response on my channel lies. The reason I'm doing that is because when this person, which is right here in front of you, when this person, and I'm not going to reveal their name. I'm not going to reveal their name because, you know, it's not someone, you know, I do that off and on. Sometimes I reveal a name, sometimes I don't. But I'm not going to reveal a name here. But they came onto the channel and basically they said a lot of things about Starfield, a whole list of things about Starfield that wasn't true. Right? Now, when I first saw these things, I thought, you know, well, maybe, you know, he believes what he's saying. maybe he's been influenced by some other YouTube influencer, because there's a lot of YouTube influencers out there who are really trying to, not really trying, some of them being very successful at taking advantage of the fact that everybody wants to hear something negative about Xbox and Starfield, right? And I have a feeling that if PlayStation owned Starfield, this wouldn't even be a subject, right? So I said, okay, well, he said all these things. I happen to know that these things are patently false. These things simply are not true. And he wrote a lot. He gave me a lot to read, and I read it, right? And some of what he said, like the games that he listed that he likes, I like those games as well. And I agree with him that those games are great. So I said, well, this guy is really misinformed on some very basic information. So as the person who runs this channel, and this, like I go back again, this is a Starfield channel, I not only will correct you if you say something false about Starfield, I feel it is my responsibility to do so, because you have come here and you have said something that is not only false, but it is commonly known to be false. Or you've said several things, like this individual, that's false. So you have to understand that as the creator on this channel, if you say a certain number of false things about Starfield, I have to address each and every one of those things. Don't sit here and write this long statement about everything wrong with Starfield, and then when I respond with my own long statement, of course my statement has to be long. I tried to keep a lot of my personal feelings out of it, because at this point it's not about personal feelings. He can feel the way he wants to feel personally. Personal feelings are subjective, so there's no debate there. We be like a hamster on a wheel. We just keep running. We're going nowhere, right? So after a while, you could talk about personal feelings as a matter of interest. That's totally fine. But debating, there's no debate. And to be honest with you, there was no debate here. There was him saying things that wasn't true, and then there was me correcting those things. So it's my responsibility to do that. But when you write this long list of false things and then I correct you absent my personal opinions, in other words, I'm going right for the information. Everything I give you, I'm not filling my comment up with a whole bunch of personal feelings. I'm giving you sources. I'm addressing everything that you said directly, so that when you leave this channel, you will leave this channel armed with information that I'm assuming you don't have. Now, when you respond like this guy responded, then clearly I know we weren't having a real conversation. We weren't having a genuine conversation. You were basically saying things that was false, and you knew it was false. This response of anger lets me know right here that you knew the things you were saying were false from the beginning. You thought you were going to be able to say them, give me this long autobiography. You thought I was going to be intimidated by it and walk away. But no, because you have to understand there are other people who are reading what you're saying, and that's what a lot of people do. They come onto these channels, they drop these little verbal bombs, and then they just, sometimes they say the weirdest things that seem like they didn't watch the channel, but basically what it is, they're hoping other people don't watch it, but they'll click into the comments and read a comment, and then basically they'll leave the video with an opinion based on that comment that was in the comment section. I will address these things, especially when you're lying. Like I said, you expressing your opinion that you don't like Starfield, I'm not going to debate that, because that's subjective. There is no debate with that. If you say you didn't like it, you didn't like it. And I noticed here too, he also said that he played the game also for hundreds of hours, right? A lot of people think that, if they say that, well, I played the game for hundreds of hours, so yeah, you really can't debate me because you can't say that I didn't play it. What I can say that the game, it puts you in a state of mind where you actually wasted hundreds of hours of your time playing the game. You actually kept booting the game up, right? And you kept playing it. And then he goes on And I'm going to get into some of the things that he said here. And then I'm also going to show you some of the sources that I showed him in response. We're going to break it down, and I'm going to show you. I'm not going to read his whole statement because, you know, it is long and I don't want to waste a lot of this video reading that, but because it's his personal opinions, that's not really interesting. But I'm going to point out the key talking points that he was trying to use that was false and each of my responses to them. I'm going to show you, you see right here, I'm showing you the conversation we had here on the screen here, and I'm showing you all the sources that I gave him. I'm like, hey, look, to address each and every one of your points here, here's some sources, check them out. And then the thing that really killed me was how he went on to proceed to accuse me of being someone who wants to support the corporations and all that and defend the corporations. And I'm like, you do realize that some of these games that you just listed above that you love are also made by corporations. Yeah, some of them may not be as rich as Microsoft, and they may not be as rich as Sony, but they're corporate. These people who head these development houses, not the developers themselves, the workers, but the people who own them, they're millionaires. These people are millionaires, and many of them are invested. They're investors of like Sony and Microsoft. These people got big bucks. These people are making a lot of money off of gaming, period. And their money is going into different avenues. Some of it is going into companies like Tencent, Xbox, PlayStation. Some of it is going into these development houses who are making these games that are top sellers, AAA bangers, in the sense that they are great games, right? So some of these games that you listed are also owned. Matter of fact, all of them are owned by at least $1 million to $1 billion corporations. So either way it goes, you're supporting corpos as well. But like I responded to him, and you can find old videos on my channel. Nobody likes those videos, by the way, where I talk about, hey man, look, $80 games, no problem. Why would you worry about $80 games if they went up to $80? There's a shit ton of games out here to play that's on sale. They're old, but they're new to you if you haven't played them yet. Backlog. I've got a backlog like everybody else. I'm sitting up here looking at like, Chris, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, man. When are you going to get to that game? Wow, But when you're out here, maybe when I retire in a few years, I'll be able to, knock all these games out. Well, of course I will, because I have a lot of time on my hands. But when you're out here working every day and you've got other life business to take care of, it's a little bit difficult to do, So I personally always push the message that, hey, there is no need really to feel this obsession with going out buying brand new games all the time. Practice some discipline, practice some patience. I also told them that I'm totally against pre-ordering. I've tried to tell people in videos, stop pre-ordering. That people don't want to hear that. But every now and then I push it, but I look at the video, and even for my small channel, I say, wow, even for my channel, these videos where you're telling people to not pre-order and to take a look at older games, because like I always say, we can't play all of them. So there's some games that you wanted to play that caught your eye. You simply didn't have time to play it. We all have that list of games. It's just that for some of us, we probably just move on because we're looking for the newest thing. But why not go back and play those games? You got people out here, buy your games, pay full price to support the devs. And like I told this guy, that money doesn't support the devs. That money supports the publishers. That money is not going to go to the devs. The devs have already been paid. They either get paid a salary or they get paid hourly, and then they get their bonuses. So this guy was like, obviously like way out of line. He really got upset because I responded to him. But what kind of sense does that make? You say this long line of false things, and then I respond. I actually show you enough respect to address each point that you made, and then you get upset. So basically the whole conversation started on a video that I made that was about a rumor going around concerning Starfield that interplanetary travel was coming to Starfield. And I gave a rough draft demonstration of what this might look like in a video, which I'll put down at the bottom. Well, he came down into the comment section, and then he basically said that, well, what people are actually looking for is this, that, and the other, right? Not just traveling from one planet to another. People actually want to be able to enter the atmosphere, leave the atmosphere, this, that, and the other. So I told him, I said, look, what you're describing is seamless flight. I said, yeah, I do remember people saying that they wanted that as well. But the company announced early on that the game was not going to have those features. So if you were somebody who thought that was a deal breaker, then naturally you would not have gotten the game in the first place. So at this point, you wouldn't even be worried about what Starfield is going to get and what they're not going to get, because you never got the game. It's not like the company lied, right? So he agreed with that. And he basically said, oh yeah, and you're right. And a lot of people did indeed, they did indeed avoid the game and they didn't purchase it. And he went on to talk about the low sales and how it didn't catch anybody's attention and nobody talks about it and this, that, and the other. And of course, I know that not to be true, so I had to correct it, right? This was one of the things that I had to correct. So like I said, I'm not going to read the whole thing because a lot of this is subjective opinions or whatnot. But let's look at some key points he made here in response to me. He said, yes, you're correct. And people did skip it. So he's saying that people didn't buy it. It's the lowest player count game from BGS, right? Now, I also addressed that, people are killing me with that. I had to remind this guy that, look, this is a single player game with an ending. People played this game for like thousands of hours. Even people who claimed to hate the game said that they played the game for thousands of hours, which made absolutely no sense. It doesn't even make sense to say that you played a game that you can't stand for hundreds of hours, not even 10 to 15 hours. So when you start getting into the hundreds, it starts getting a little weird. And by the way, even this guy said that he played for over 100 hours. I think it was over 100 hours. But anyway, if you don't give players what they want, when they don't buy, but basically don't be surprised if they don't buy or engage with your product, right? So we all know that. And he's comparing this to some of Bethesda's older games that have been in development for like many, many years. They've done many things with the game. They've done many different iterations of the game. These games are much, much, much more mature, and each one had their dead period. Each one had their player. If you go back and look at the history of all of their games, all of their games have had their dipping points where people weren't playing them. So here again, he's saying something that's disingenuous. But I'll address this later. This game was essentially built on a platform to sell community-made mods, generating passive income for BGS, right? So I basically had to point to him that, when I corrected him, which we're going to get to that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. That the mods came later, dude. They came much later. So let's take a look at exactly how I responded to him here. It's a single player game with a story that actually ends. Many players have reported sinking thousands of hours into it, and it received strong reviews from media outlets, other developers, and YouTubers. While the world is huge, it's not a live service title. These people actually don't realize how they're basically giving the game a compliment by, I guess, forgetting the fact, I guess they play it and the game is so overwhelming and so full of things to do, they think it's a live service game, and it's not. Anyway, it was the best-selling game of 2023. And even the people who swore they hated it admitted to playing for hundreds of hours, and he's one of them. I had not even realized that at the time, but he's one of them. So we take a look here at how he responded, and basically, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's actually much longer than this, but it's basically a lot of his opinions about other games and why he enjoys them more than he enjoys Starfield. So he says here, I'm not sure about this best-selling game of 2023. And down here, he says, nowhere shows it was the best-selling game. Also, not sure about the strong reviews. Barely anyone covers Starfield. And then he says only a handful of streamers covered it. And then he mentions a name, Maddie Plays, that always seems to come out of people's mouths who hate Starfield. Look, I have my personal thoughts about Maddie Plays. Nothing personal on the level, well, I hate him or anything, but he's taken a direction with his channel. I've followed Maddie literally since he was a child, since he was a kid. He's been on YouTube that long, but I've unsubscribed from his channel. And there's been several other people who have also said they've done the exact same thing. So But look, that's another topic altogether. Matty Plays takes his channel and his brand wherever he wants to take it. And he goes out here to make the point that, hey, you know, if this game was the best-selling game, I would think it would be in the Xbox showcase, right? I'm like, okay, whatever. So I went on to respond to him by basically telling him that, hey, look, I like a lot of games too, but I like those games for what they are, not for what they aren't, or what other games are or are not. You know, I play each game, you know, for what it is. And if, you know, and I decide to not play a game for what it is as an individual game. I don't go around comparing games. I look at a game. What is this game about? Do I enjoy this game? If I enjoy this game, then I enjoy it. But anyway, of course, I went on to provide him with sources to counter each one of his points here. You know, first of all, I gave him a long list of reviews. He said that, you know, basically he didn't see anybody reviewing it very well. He tried to talk like no one reviewed the game well, and if it did, he was basically trying to play it down like, yeah, maybe a few people or whatever, but for the most part, there were not a lot of great reviews out there, right? So I had to show him where he was wrong. How do I do that? By showing him a lot of great reviews, right? That's how you counter that. I also put down here on the bottom a couple of people who reviewed the game, people who are well respected in the community. David Jaffe said that it's one of his favorite games. I mean, he gave it high praises. Greg Miller of Kinda Funny Games, he's crazy about the game. Spent a lot of time playing the game, streaming the game, having loads of fun playing the game.
There's one Starfield side mission that you don't want to miss, especially if you're a Batman fan. I murked a spacer at some point in my early hours and found a note promising riches at a secret outpost. This gave me the side mission Mantis. I found myself entering a secret compound and slowly putting together the story of Leon and his mother via notes and audio logs. Seems his mom was the Mantis, and she wanted him to take up the mantle upon her passing, but their relationship wasn't the best. I was half paying attention to all this as I killed spacers. When I finally entered the inner sanctum, it all became clear. The Mantis is basically Batman. I walked into basically the Batcave, found basically the Batmobile, found basically the Batsuit, and learned about the Mantises that came before Leon's mom. Comments the spacers made about the Mantis being a story to scare criminals flooded my mind, and I realized I just unwittingly played the coolest side mission ever. I took the suit and ship, both of which had far better stats than what I was using, and became the Mantis. It changed how pirates reacted to me and gave me new options in at least one conversation. I am vengeance. I am the knight. I am the Mantis.
And by the way, for anyone who's interested, I will put these sources down in the description section of this video as well. So this guy actually responds to me by saying, okay, man, you're too deep into this. Play the game you like. Nobody can say otherwise. But don't feel bad when people mock you for your choices. By the way, running defense for Bethesda Game Studios' laziness doesn't look good on anyone. It's like, leave the billion-dollar company alone. Levels of cringe. Okay, dude, you actually tell me this after you just told me that you have played all of their games. You have basically ran down a list of games to me that you like that are also owned, those IPs are owned by corporations. They're owned by millionaires and billionaires. So what are we doing here? So my response to him was the following. I never pre-order games and I rarely buy them at full price. You'll never see me saying something idiotic like pay more to support the devs because the money won't go to the devs. I support small developers and promote their work when I find a gem and advocate buying old games on sale instead of being obsessed with buying brand new AAA titles all the time. But okay, basically whatever. I was simply providing you with information, brother. And to be clear, I cannot express how little I care about some incel ridiculing me because of games I enjoy. But don't feel bad because I sensed a little cringe as well. Yeah, man. I mean, I advocate for all of this, bro. I mean, I'm constantly telling people I stopped making videos about it because those, even for a channel this small, those videos don't do well in comparison to my other videos because I'm a small channel. You know, they're only doing so well, but even among those videos promoting the idea of buying old games or going back and buying games that you never got around to playing, nobody wants to hear that shit, man. You know, nobody, but I'm here for it. And I'll always stand on that. I will always stand on people need to stop pre-ordering cold turkey. Never, it just needs to just go away. I'm always telling people get angry with me because I'm telling them, hey, you guys are out here doing all this complaining about how these corporations and these gaming companies are releasing garbage, but you keep going out pre-ordering. You keep pre-ordering. Like, look at what happened with Cyberpunk. Now, I bet you when the new Witcher comes out, and if they come out with a new Cyberpunk, a lot of people are going to go out here and pre-order those games. As bad as that was historically bad. I'm always telling people those games are going to be there when you want to buy them. It's not like they have so many on the shelf and when you get to the store, they're gone. Now, if you want to get a physical copy, but man, to be honest with you, because digital games are in such demand now, I really don't even see a situation where the digital copy, the physical copy on the shelves for most of these games is going to get bought out. But even if it does, I mean, you can order those through the mail. You can order those on Amazon. So there's no excuse for pre-ordering. But here's the deal. Like I said, nobody wants to hear that shit. I was going to make a lot more videos on that subject, but I'm looking at the numbers like, wow, it's really like, this is really like screaming into an empty room. Nobody wants to hear it. And I think when you make the title, just people don't want to hear it. So once you get a following, though, it might be okay, because I see larger channels getting traction talking about those particular subjects. But when you're a small channel like mine, a tiny channel, nobody wants to hear that. Because I'm looking at, wow, man, this makes my other videos look like they're blowing up. Nobody wants to hear it because everybody wants to pre-order. Nobody, I've even had a couple of people to come at me about it, man. Because I'm listening to them complain. And then when I tell them, because they basically tell me inadvertently that they pre-ordered various games that they're complaining about. And I said, well, why did you pre-order it? And they get defended. They get defensive about it. They're like, they don't want to hear that. So I'm like, you have something that you can do. You can stop pre-ordering. Like I'm preaching it right now, but it's at the end of the video. So a lot of people probably turned it off. But anyway, man, enough of that. But like I said, I'm going to put the sources down in the bottom of the video, but check this out, man. If you don't come on my channel and lie about Starfield, I won't correct you about Starfield. Now, Starfield has a lot of issues, and I've complained about some of those issues. Nobody is here saying Starfield is perfect. So if you come on and I know a lot of people who love Starfield who have a lot of negative things to say about Starfield.
You are the lead reviewer at Kinda Funny on Starfield. What did you give it on our 5-point scale?
I gave Starfield a 4 out of 5.
Okay, explain.
The sense of discovery, the amount of things that you can do in this game is what makes it great. If not the best game that Bethesda has made, it is definitely right up there at the top. As an RPG, it does a lot of things very well. There's some things, not so much.
What holds it back from being a 5?
The inventory system, not great.
No.
That needs to be refined. It needs a complete overhaul. The game also suffers, I think, just from a narration and UI standpoint of pointing you in the direction of where to go and things to do. Like simple things, like where do I go get ammo?
Why isn't there a local map for the planets, the cities I'm in? I just need to know what stores to get to.
Exactly. But this is a game that you want to play. You will want to immerse yourself in. But that's the beauty of Starfield, is it's your journey. You get to do what you want to do when you play.
That's what's called a constructive criticism. You say these things because you want them to do better. You're not saying them because you're trying to throw the game under the bus. That's completely different. It has a whole different feel to it. But what kills me is when you people with other motivations come on and try to, knock the game, and you want to blend in with those type of people. Like you're not being personal. You are being personal, especially when you start telling a whole bunch of lies. Now, like I said, this guy at first, I figured, maybe he was just misled, maybe because you got people like that. They get into a certain circle. They only follow certain creators that say the things that they like, and then that's it. So I figured, okay, maybe he's misinformed. So I'm going to go ahead and give him some information so that he can, realize that a lot of the things that he said wasn't true. That is an honor when someone does that. When someone tries to show you, hey, what you're saying isn't true and here's why. And then when you get insulted by it and when you get angry about it, then everything it becomes transparent. And when it comes to your motive and why we're even having this conversation in the first place. But anyway, guys, hey, look, if you enjoyed the video, give the video a like and share the video if you can around. And yeah, give me your comments down in the comment section. And until next time, stay safe.